Welcome in to Campus Crossover. We're here to talk about the game of the century tomorrow.
That's right, baby.
Let's go.
It's going to be so much fun.
Circus is in town.
You all probably noticed we've got the PHNX Wildcats crew up here. I'm Henry Chisholm. This is Ryan Koenigsberg, Saul Bookman, and of course at the end we got Mike Luke. First of all, how was the trip? How you guys liking Denver so far?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I used to live in Denver for 3 years. So
oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah. I used to live in Aurora, so.
Oh, that's different. That's not Denver.
Representing the Wildcats all out here in Denver. No, it's not very far.
The landscape scenery is a little different than Tucson, but I dig it. I can see why you guys like it up here.
When Michaela worked here, she had a cactus. That would have made you feel more at home.
Yeah, but then she took it and then killed it back home in Arizona.
Oh, did she try to transport it?
Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah.
It wasn't ready for the temperature change.
It wasn't ready. It was like, what the fuck is this hot shit?
All right. We've got to dig in because there's a lot to talk about.
Is there?
There is so much that we all need to get off of our chests today. In case you guys haven't heard, Colorado plays Arizona tomorrow in Boulder. And what people are calling the game of the century. It should be a lot of fun. It's at 1:30. And let's just dig in. I'm
just glad these guys are here because misery loves company.
It's the resistible object versus the movable force. That's all it is.
It's really perfect. First off, this is just a broad question. What scares you guys about Colorado?
Wow.
We're not talking about like avalanches and like
no, wildfires or anything like that. No, for the Buffs on the field, I would just say looking at the Texas A&M tape and their defense, that's the only thing that scares me. That's about it.
I mean, it's fair. I think that if this team has like something in their bag that could really show out tomorrow, I feel like it would be the defense.
It always worries me playing a Power 5 Division I team when you're on a 17-game losing streak. So that's basically what I would go. I'm going to go with a more broad-brushed approach than what Saul just went with.
Yes. But do you know when that last win was, though?
It was against Colorado.
It sure was.
We also had Khalil Tate back then now.
Oh, my God. I still have nightmares about Khalil Tate.
There is kind of a crazy stretch in the series where Khalil Tate went for like 300 yards rushing and 300 yards passing the next time. Yeah. I think there was like another game
Phillip
where he
Lindsay went for like 280 in a game.
Exactly. Last year, Jarek Broussard on the Buff side, 301.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be like the guy tomorrow who's going to put up a big number?
Go ahead.
Jarek Broussard.
Again?
Yes, again.
Dude, actually, so...
Are you going to go with someone from Arizona?
This is the one thing about Arizona that I have been pleasantly surprised with is that defensively, they have held their own in the first half of most of these games. And in the second half, midway through the third quarter, that's when the wheels kind of fall off. They get a little tired and they wear down because the offense hasn't really done much to help them out. You guys have seen this story before.
Yeah, sure have.
So again, it's like twins. It's the Spider-Man meme all over again. 17-game losing streak. They're looking to snap that. Again, Mike and I have talked about this. If Arizona doesn't win tomorrow, looking at their preseason schedule or their non-conference schedule next year, there's a legit possibility we could go 3 years without winning a game. They have to win this fucking game.
This thing could hit mid-20s without – this thing could easily hit mid-20s. That's where we're looking at right now. But you know what? With Arizona football, it is the little things here, fellas. I think this year it's a little bit different. We're not as bad because I think we have a coaching staff that at least wants to win, that's at least somewhat intrigued by that possibility. Whereas in the past, you had a coaching staff that just didn't care. So take that for what it's worth.
I've been kind of impressed with just the way that Jed Fish has carried himself. I might be a little bit biased because I one time had drinks with him at the Combine, and he was really cool. So
really?
Yeah.
Tell that story a little bit.
I mean, honestly, it's just the NFL Combine is like the coolest thing ever because it's the one place like the NFL keeps their walls up at all times, and for whatever reason, all the walls come down at the
because that's what you do in Indianapolis. There ain't shit else to do
but drink.
You might as well just drink and have fun
at Prime 47 Steakhouse. It's literally. The entire NFL world, starting at like midnight, goes to one steakhouse, and it gets so packed in there, and you've got like like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport on like opposite sides of the bar, and then like the entire like coaching staffs like down the middle, and it's just so crazy. But so it gets really packed in there. And one time I was like, sometimes you just can't move. So like me and Jed Fish were just stuck next to each other. So we just struck up a conversation and talked for like hours.
Did he talk about his? Did he talk
Hours?
Yes.
Not even just a few minutes. Hours.
Yeah, like actually at the time, CU. Oh gosh, what was this? This would have been pre-Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
So like they were. I think he was a.
Is this
a
the Mike
candidate.
McIntyre era?
Yeah. I think he was a candidate in that search. So that's how we started talking and just like got into talking about football. He was really, really cool. He had a lot of interesting thoughts. I think at the time he was the quarterback's coach for the Rams. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So yeah,
He has an incredible
I was
resume.
fascinated.
Yeah, an incredibly diverse resume because he's only been in each place for like a year or two.
There is that part of it.
Yeah, so yeah.
I think he has some Colorado connection. of
Yeah,
some
he's
sort.
Mike Shanahan coaching tree.
There you go.
He's part of many coaching trees. I'll just put it to you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think that for me, what scares me about Arizona is they actually have a quarterback who can complete passes.
Oh, easy there, killer. Easy there. We did have a quarterback that could complete
I
passes.
looked at the stats. This dude's completing 67% of his
No,
passes.
and all of those were against BYU in game number 1. After that,
Okay.
Let's
Shit.
throw this out there though. Brendan Lewis this season started every game. They've been reluctant to pull him out even in the fourth quarter blowouts.
because he knows where the bodies are buried.
Something. There's something. But he put up 475 yards so far this season.
Passing.
Passing, yeah. Gunnar Cruz, 454, despite being benched. Jordan McLeod in those couple of games, 481.
Here's the problem, though.
You got
with
two
that.
guys right there.
Yeah.
You got to remember, though, that 316 of those were in one game. So basically, in 2 games after that, it's been about 100 and.
The fact that he has a capability of throwing for 316 yards is what scares me.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, here I'm gonna throw some water on your optimism. Is that a term? Water on your optimism?
Sure,
It
yeah.
doesn't really matter. But Arizona has been giving significant reps all week to a wide receiver who hasn't played quarterback in 3 years. We're talking like 25% of the reps.
Yeah.
So
Do you think Jamari might start?
Is that the
Jamari
the
won't
Did
start.
the OU Daily report that?
oh, you did, right?
They were through the glass,
Right,
the
yes.
second-story building across the street from the apartments.
My response would be that, we've been begging for the tight end Matt Lynch to start getting reps at quarterback and to flip back, and they haven't even pulled the trigger
So is
on
he
it.
the linchpin?
He could be.
Nice.
He
There
could-
it is.
he
That's,
might be.
that's
We
the-
want to find out.
That's the winning quote right there. That's the headline. Linchpin.
Linchpin. Yeah. Let's just move on. I mean, the next question I've got here is who do you steal from the other team? Like, if you got to poach one player, who do you take? And I think for Ryan and I, it's pretty simple. Whoever QB1 is in the given week is who you take. Like, I'd love to go after an offensive lineman and say, like, we got bolster things up front, but it's just too simple.
Arizona
here.
has a couple good football players.
They do.
Stanley Berryhill is
Yeah.
very good.
But we don't need wide receivers, right?
Well, we don't know if they're good because they can't throw the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. But we do have a couple good players over
Yeah.
here.
So wait, let me flip it around. If you were us, who would you steal from Arizona and put on Colorado? See what I'm saying?
Oh,
Stanley Berryhill.
Stanley Berryhill, or I would probably even wager to say maybe we probably would have given you Gunnar Cruz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Wait a second. You want Gunnar Cruz if you're Colorado?
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Like, dog, they don't have anybody
Stanley
that can throw the
Berryhill's
ball.
going to get a
Completing
great workout.
2/3 of his
just
passes.
running around out there.
We're looking to break the 10 completion per game threshold this week.
Yeah, like I would like Broussard because he's a solid running
Yeah.
back and he's shown the propensity to torch teams before us. So
He torched everyone last year.
He did.
So I'd rather take that away from you so we could have him so I know he
Oh.
couldn't torch
Because
us.
someone's bound to
Yeah.
go off.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to Kadeem Carey.
366 yards.
Yes.
Tucson's
I'll never
finest,
forget. I've
right?
never seen anything like it. Inside zone every play from the,
Well,
from
if
the
there's-
shotgun. Who would you take?
I would take Jarek Broussard in a second. That's
Not Nate Landman.
no.
Because if I were you guys, I would take Nate Landman.
On defense?
Yes.
Why?
The defense,
I'm not worried about the defense.
this will sound really.
I'm telling you, the under is crazy right now.
Yep.
46.5 right now. Dude, that might be the easiest money of the weekend.
DraftKings pick of the week.
Dude, this shit might be 0-0 into the 7th overtime.
All on board. Yep.
It might be so fucking
You
bad.
think Vegas is maybe looking at a turnover fest / pick six type situation?
Man, they better hope so.
Brendan Lewis can't throw pick six because he never actually throws
No,
it.
that's the thing is we've been begging for interceptions.
That is
I
Just won't
literally
throw the
said
ball.
if you go out there and throw 7 interceptions, it'll be better than watching the pump fakes.
Yeah. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. Who knows? It can't stay this bad forever, right? At some point.
That's what I said. You know, Henry and I were sitting here waiting for you guys, and I said, you know, it's really hard to like even imagine a world in which I'd leave the game tomorrow like happy.
Yeah.
Like obviously I want the Buffs to win. If they win, I will be somewhat happy. But like the only way I leave it like really like pumping my fist is if somehow, some way over the bye week, Brendan Lewis like figured it out and starts throwing dimes.
So here's a question for you. What would you feel worse about right now as a Buffs fan? The fact that you're in the position you are right now, or if you would have beat Texas A&M and then proceeded to lose the games like you have after that? Don't you think you would have been like feeling a little – because that would have been ultimate high optimism after that point.
Well, you got to remember, Carl Durrell won Coach of the Year last year in the Pac-12. So you come out, you start 2-0 with a win over Texas A&M. Everyone's thinking like we're back. So yeah,
And
that
so
fall
facto,
from grace.
you guys could have beat Alabama. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I
you just
mean,
have something.
See, that's where I can't wrap my head around you Arizona winning this game, though, is that you guys have a 10-7 game against A&M. If Arizona were to play A&M, that's
Not true. Not true. Because we competed against Oregon in Oregon. We were right there.
But here's the thing, though. We're ecstatic. Here's where Arizona football is. We're ecstatic about a game that we lost by 22 points and the QB threw 5 picks.
Yeah, but we were close in the fourth quarter. We were close in the fourth quarter. Like
Those weren't the stats until the end of the game.
Yeah. Like, don't
Saul, we lost by 22 points.
Ignore the final score. Those 3 quarters are the best quarters of Arizona football in 2 years.
Hey, those 44 minutes and 45 seconds of that A&M
so
game
you
where the
know
Buffs
what
were
it's
in the
like.
lead.
This is
That was
the
nice.
best. I love that. We're literally just trying to talk each other into why the other team, why your team will
Hey,
win.
I'm going to side with Vegas on with. There's a reason that you guys are 7.5 point favorites, not us.
Yeah, I'll be hitting
So
a
take that.
heavy emotional hedge on the Arizona money line.
It's gonna be a lot of movement
Hank,
on
who
the,
would
on
you
the money
take?
line.
Or if you were them, who would you take from Colorado?
I think the Jarek Broussard case is good. I think the
Really?
fact that the numbers aren't
He's
there
done
this
nothing
year,
yeah.
50 yards a game, it's not ideal.
Well, he's done nothing yet.
The offensive line isn't good. The box is packed. The play calling isn't good. I mean, there's potential there.
How bad has?
And do you need Nate Landman to stop this offense?
Yeah, obviously last year the Arizona had a historically bad rushing defense. Has it been that bad this year? Because that's the one way you could talk me into Colorado winning.
No, the Arizona defense is legitimately not bad. It's not great, but it's not. Listen, Don Brown, the defensive coordinator for the U of A, is probably the most accomplished coach that the U of A has had in probably 25 years. I mean, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the conference, if not college football. Chip Kelly talked about it. Carl Durrell talked about it this week, where he said he's a difficult guy to be able to game plan because he's multiple. He brings blitzes from all kinds of different angles. I mean, there's a reason that he was the Michigan defensive coordinator for 5 or 6 years. So they're legitimately not bad on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they're very fundamental. They don't lose technique very often. The only ways they get beat is because of legit talent.
Right.
You know, they go up against dudes that are just better than them, but they're in the right positions for the most part to be able to compete. So on the defensive side, like I don't have too many complaints because I know what they have and they're doing the best they can. And they're keeping it close for the most part in these games, at least through the first half.
And that's why, to me, like, again, I keep going back to this under, and I keep thinking it's going to be a really close game one way or the other, is Arizona is, first of all, smart enough to know that Brendan Lewis can't throw the football. So they're going to be able to put 8 guys in the box and just say, stop the run, and then see what happens. I have a feeling Colorado is still going to find themselves in a lot of
From the U of
third
A
and longs.
perspective, this is when Brendan Lewis all of a sudden throws for like 600 yards, and you're like, what the what?
That's the one thing that can make me hype.
You love to hear it, but it's what you love to hear. At the same time, though, like
He's got an interesting stat, and forgive me, I haven't watched a ton of live Colorado Buffalo football.
Nobody has.
Correct. But I do have a question, though. You very rarely see a quarterback that in one game against a team in A&M that's, I think we can say, has some pretty good talent. They're inconsistent, but they got some good talent. Rushes for 80 yards. But then you look at some of the other games, and against USC, like 11 for -13. Was that just an aberration? Can he not run? What's the deal with his legs?
so. First of all, those numbers get skewed by the sacks.
Well, yeah, for sure.
So Colorado gives up a crazy amount of sacks.
Dumb thing about college
First
football
of all,
stats.
that is the worst part of college football stats.
Yeah.
But the offensive line has been bad, and so that creates sacks. Brendan
he run
Lewis
the ball, though?
Literally, can
yeah.
they? Yeah. I mean,
He can.
He can.
Keep going, and then
But yeah, I mean, on the other side is that Brendan Lewis holds the ball so long that he contributes 3-4 sacks a game that are his fault, and so you just have these massive sack numbers that tank those numbers. But the reason I'd say like you don't have to worry too much about the rushing threat is because the book is out now. Against Texas A&M, people didn't totally know that he just couldn't throw the football. Now teams have come around to that fact, and it's like, don't let the running backs get the ball and run. Don't let Brendan Lewis get the ball and run. If you do that, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and additionally, for whatever reason, and this has been the single, thing that has CU fans just losing their minds, they haven't called the designed runs for him in these last few weeks. A lot of people originally thought, okay, well, it's because they don't want to get him hurt because behind him is a true freshman who they literally keep pounding into everyone's head. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. We're not playing him.
It just can't be true that he's looks like this.
Can't be worse.
I could.
So
yeah.
To me, that's the thing is they don't want to run him. They don't want to get him out on the edge. And I think the reason that they don't want to play Drew Carter is because they feel like they've ruined Brendan Lewis. Like he wasn't ready and he was forced in there because of the injury to JT Shrout. And so now they're saying like, okay, well,
He's
now his
basically the
confidence,
crash test dummy type.
Yeah, his confidence is shot. We're not going to throw in another guy who's not ready and lose his confidence too.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
That's a tough position to be in.
Sure is, Saul. Hit the nail on the head right there.
Because honestly, I think that if this team, we don't know what JT Shrout was going to be. He was a transfer from Tennessee who was looking like he was going to win the starting quarterback. The problem is the fact that it was even a competition. Now, like in hindsight, I'm looking like, how was that ever a competition? So we don't know how good he would have been, but if he was legit, I think that this Buffs team had a chance to compete for a bowl game. What we've realized like so obviously here is that when your quarterback, it's not like having a bad quarterback. It's like when your quarterback can't play quarterback, you just don't have a shot. Like they don't have a shot to do anything against some of these real teams.
That's why I think Arizona is going to, kind of harken back to the days when they had Chuck Levy. Jabari joined. They didn't have a quarterback either because they were riddled with injury. So they put Chuck Levy, who was a wide receiver / kind of do it everything, kind of guy, at quarterback, and they just ran the option all game long. And they won a lot of games doing that. So it was legit. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point tomorrow you get through maybe the first quarter and you're just like, dude, we just get him out, put Jabari in there. Let's just run the triple option and hope for the best.
Because here's what you guys are, I think, both being in the Arizona football trenches, so to speak.
Okay.
People really don't want to see Gunnar Cruz anymore. I'm sure Gunnar Cruz is a really nice guy. You'll see what we're talking about tomorrow. There's essentially 3 plays in the playbook. Now, again, BYU is the first game. I get it. You're looking at the numbers and you're like, oh, well, our guy couldn't do that. I get that. But here's what happened in the UCLA game. Jordan McLeod, who is not Michael Vick, but he's good. He's a mid-level Pac-12 quarterback. He's a legitimate starting caliber type guy.
And he's athletic enough to create his own stuff.
He doesn't get sacked the entire game. Gunnar Cruz comes in, and immediately it revolves into his 4 different plays that he has. There's the triple pump fake, where you take the sack after 7 yards.
We've had that's well scouted by the Buffaloes.
Yes, for sure. I was going to say you probably got right. For sure.
As soon as they see the first pump fake, the entire defensive line is like, "Oh, I've seen this shit before."
Chase him to the sideline.
Right there.
But that's also not to be overwhelmed though by the 30-yard heave out of bounds when somebody's wide open in front of you.
Shout out to the student section.
Correct. Yes.
Making plays.
Or
always there's a wide out in there somewhere.
Or if you're looking to keep the ball and keep moving the chains, there's the 2-yard run or there's the 3-yard check down. So fans, I'll give you an idea. Fans, I would say, would rather see Will Plummer, who lost to NAU, than Gunnar Cruz. And that's what we're talking about here.
See, I'm a little bit. I sit on the other side of the fence for Mike on that one. I don't.
Hey, I didn't say that I said it. I'm speaking for the people.
Then the fans are wrong. Because I don't want to see Will Plummer. Because Will Plummer literally looks like he's throwing, like he looks like me throwing with my left hand on every pass.
But he's throwing.
Yeah, but that's the key. He's throwing.
Which is nice.
Yeah, define throwing for a second, okay? Like
ball comes out of the hand.
It's not pretty. It doesn't go more than 5 yards. It's a wet noodle. Like it's just not very good. So.
Just to kind of bounce back to the Colorado side of things, you look at the 162 passing yards last week, and you're like, okay, that's competent. Remember, there was a 65-yard catch and run
relatively.
where there's a tight end standing. Oh, it's competent because before that was the 67 passing yards to ASU. Where there was a 26-yard jet sweep that gets counted as a pass. Before that, you get the 55 yards against Minnesota. You had 89 against A&M.
Minnesota's good though.
They are
not 55 yards only good, but they're still good.
30-0
you should be able to score a point on them.
Maybe, yeah.
So wait, but you were pointing out the tight end.
Oh yeah, I mean the 162 yards, 65 come tight end sitting wide open 5 yards away, catches it, turns around and runs for 65.
So here's the question:
It's like
why is all the money going in on Colorado and not Arizona?
I don't think people watch these two teams.
I think it's the Arizona.
It's
the mystique of Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. It's these guys haven't won a game in almost 800 days
of Arizona. Yeah.
There's no way, like they don't know how to win, and it's probably very true. I'm fascinated to see how this game turns out, but like it really is. You know, Eric joked around calling it the down bad bowl. It really is that because like Henry and I were talking about this before. Like we literally said the Buffs can't afford to get blown out. Like that's a thing that's in our head.
Dude, if you guys get blown out by Arizona, I swear they're going to have a parade when they come back to Tucson. I swear. Like, dude, that'll be the upset of the year.
Where are you guys at, though, in terms of, like, will Jedfish lose people if they get killed by Colorado
He's
tomorrow?
already lost people, man. I'm not saying that he should have, but, I mean, you had the UCLA game. There are a lot of people there, but people don't care right now. So Mike's there in Tucson, and he feels whatever the vibes are down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you take a step back from it from a national perspective, all the other Wildcat fans that do not live in Tucson, you knew this team was terrible. Like, I knew this team was terrible. Mm-hmm. The only loss that should have never happened is the NAU loss, obviously.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I don't know what the hell you thought you were going to get. Yeah. Like, that's just – this is exactly what I thought was going to happen.
I think actually that NAU loss is actually why the money is coming in on Colorado.
Probably.
Because if you have to, like, make a comparison, you're saying, okay, Arizona lost to NAU, who lost to UNC, who Colorado beat 35-7. So, like, that – if I was, trying to talk myself into why I would bet on Colorado, that makes sense. What's crazy, you guys talk about attendance. This game is sold out.
Props to the fans.
What?
Yes.
There were 1,000 tickets left yesterday. They said
it family weekend or what?
It is family weekend. Yeah.
But still,
we know that.
You know the circumstances.
Dude, but it's sold out?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Arizona's got no fucking shot.
Arizona.
Blackout, everybody. If you haven't heard, wear black tomorrow.
You guys are assuming that Arizona fans aren't traveling.
Hey, you never know.
The Alumni Association, I hear, is going to have 3 tables.
Wow.
Of 10. I'm kidding.
Big day.
By the way, if you're coming out tomorrow, come by the DNVR tailgate.
Yeah, we'll have Breckenridge beers, our favorite beers. We just asked, so I have some leftovers from last week, but I'm about to pick up all the beers for tomorrow. I'm hoping for a lot of seltzers.
Saw him downstairs. There's like a pallet of seltzers.
I feel like tomorrow's a seltzer day.
All right, so I just tweeted out. I tweeted out and I asked some of the U of A fans. I said, well, I don't want to paraphrase what I said. I'll just quote myself. I said, the guys from DNVR Buffs want Gunnar Cruz as their QB. Thoughts, U of A fans? And the first thing that comes back is one with a woman saying, he's all yours. I mean, that's... I mean, it's, it's...
We want to hear in the chat. While we talk about Breckenridge Brewery, some of these things, let us know, who do you take as your quarterback this week? Gunnar Cruz or Brendan Lewis? Let us know in there.
It just has to be so obvious.
Hey.
It has to be so obvious.
I think they think the same thing because
I
they've been
know.
watching
There's
those guys.
nothing-
We've been watching these guys. It's going to be fun.
There's nothing easy about this game.
Again, though, you look at just team passing yards. Bottom 3, Navy, Army, Air Force, and then you've got Colorado at 100.
They literally don't. They run the triple option
all
at
they
those
do.
three
And
schools.
They throw the ball like 10 times a game. That's it.
And there's Colorado 100 per game. Next worst in FBS football, San Diego State 121.
And we lost.
There's a
to San
20-yard
more.
gap.
And we
right
lost
there.
to San Diego State.
You
got murdered
You
by San
realized
Diego
that we
State.
were...
You look at total yards. It's 237 for UL Monroe, 239 for Colorado.
What's your guys' record? Let me ask.
273 for
Like, you're
UConn.
actually making our point for us
making
right
our
now.
point for us.
Like, you just said, like, oh, Colorado's so bad. They're only one spot behind the team that beat you by 30. At your place. Like, it's not good.
Oh boy.
It's not good at all.
Hey, regardless of which side you're on, you're going to want Breckenridge beers tomorrow. So definitely make sure you get your hands on those. If you need to figure out where to pick them up, you're not going to the game, use the beer locator on the Breck Brew website. It's a great tool. They're great beers. You can't go wrong. I feel like we're running out of lemonade seltzer days, so definitely get your hands on some of those. Also, we're going to give a shout out to our friends over at DraftKings. I think our consensus is we're taking the under on the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what are you guys thinking on this spread? Arizona +6. Let me throw in the context. 8.5 points per game for Colorado against FBS teams. So does Arizona get that field goal?
I think it's gonna come. It's gonna be close.
Is
I
the
really
current
am.
line 6 right now?
6.5 was last I saw. It actually might move to 7 now that I think of it.
Let me look.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
I'll get the live look here.
But here's all I'm going to say, and we were talking about this before the show to all the betting public out there. And by the way, if you're not on DraftKings, you should be on DraftKings.
the best.
It's
6.5.
the best. 6.5.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the only thing that makes me a little bit worried, and this will be my DraftKings pick of the week. I'm going to go with the under of 46.5, but here's why I'm not very good at this, because I look at it and I think to myself 3 different ways that
Mike has made some guarantees that have
I've
not
made
gone
some
right.
terrible guarantees.
That is for certain.
Yes, for sure.
You made a guarantee that went wrong and then made another guarantee.
Correct. Yeah, but you know what? At this point, 2 negatives are going to equal a positive at some point. So
No one holds you accountable for
nobody.
this stuff
Yeah,
anyway.
dude. Seriously, like if you're betting based on what I'm telling you, then you know what? That's on you, not on me. Here's my only point, though. Anytime you see a line where all 4 of us are like, "What in the world is that?" Just saying, people in Vegas, they know more than we know.
Well, that's what we
Yep.
said on our bet show yesterday about the Bucks being 6.5 point favorites. They're like 90% of the money came in on the Bucks. Something weird is going to happen. The Eagles are going to cover this. What did they do? They covered it by
covered-
a half point on the back door.
So
Crazy.
take it for what it's worth. That's my DraftKings pick of the week.
Yeah, the over-under has changed from 46.5 to 46.
Oh,
Get in quick. They're
So-
listening.
Yo,
Oh,
people are out there
that
like,
was
"No."
instantaneous
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Screw that.
Within about 20 seconds.
Dude, Arizona plus 205. Oh man, it's really hard to not want to put money on Arizona right now, because I just believe that they could probably cover this. It's Arizona, man. I don't know.
Last 4
just
games,
don't know.
points for Colorado, 7-0, 13, 14. It's a 6.5 point spread.
Yeah. Okay, but conversely, like Arizona's last several games, it's like let's see, 34, 41, 21 NAU, 38 and 24.
what they've given up.
Yes.
Colorado's lost 3 straight by 22 or more.
All right.
Are you trying to?
We
gotta stop
We could do a
this.
full hour of just bad stat versus bad stat. I'm on Colorado plus or Arizona plus 6.5.
I
Sorry.
do think it probably comes down to a field goal.
Oh, so you guys
how-
are all back in the A on
How
this one.
brutal would that be, though?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, how brutal would that be? Like, we're all
9-6.
We're all on the edge of our seats, hoping that we don't lose this game to this other team that's equally as bad. Oh my gosh.
Overtime would be poetic. I hope it goes to overtime.
I love.
There's a
overtime.
reason that Saul and I are up here because we knew this was going to be a clash of the Titans.
It's gonna be an epic game.
Game of the century.
Listen, we might be joking about this, but tomorrow at this point we might be like, dude,
That was a great game, man.
what?
That's what we all need right now,
What?
right?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Don't we all just want a competitive football game?
Listen, even Mighty Mites in Pop Warner will give you a good game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They might not be the best of the best, but hey, I'll watch some 8-year-olds knock the shit out of each other. Like, I want to see the same thing tomorrow.
Okay, so regardless of who you guys trust, make your pick, but make sure you make that pick with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DNVR. Bet $1 on any NFL game this week. Win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. It's promo code DNVR this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I didn't realize we had Pac-12 football tonight. I'm going to go in heavy on Oregon -7.5 first.
By the way, listen to Sean Seeley right here. This guy knows what he's talking about.
What's he saying?
Final score 13. Cats 13, Buffs 17. It's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. There you go.
That's not low scoring.
True. What? Who's Oregon?
Shootout.
Who's Oregon playing tonight?
Cal. 13.5 point spread.
Where?
At Oregon.
Yeah.
I like Oregon.
Yeah, I
to
like
cover
Oregon
that.
in that.
I
cover
do
that.
too. I
They're
made a parlay
13 and a
last
half
night.
point favorites.
And that
on
line's
the game.
stuck, too.
Especially after losing to Stanford the way they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, bounce back
What do you
game.
think, Hank?
I agree.
But they're missing
I
their starting tailback though.
I know, and that's why I talked
Oregon?
myself into Cal
Yeah.
last night. There was a DraftKings 50% parlay boost, 5+ leg parlay. So I built one last night, and I took Cal plus 13.5, but I regret it.
What are you doing? Oregon.
Yep.
What are you doing?
I know.
Oregon, if they're losing, if they don't have their starting halfback, they have like 4 more 5-stars just waiting behind
true.
them.
The big one for me. You guys are Arizona guys, so you might not like it, but Arizona State even odds with Utah Saturday night.
See,
I
this is the
love
type
Arizona
of-
State now.
Utah's the type of team that beats Arizona State.
Yeah.
That's Vegas'
Especially
way. Go ahead, Saul.
Go ahead.
That's Vegas' way of saying Utah's going to win that game.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Who's
Especially
even
in
their
Utah.
quarterback now?
It doesn't
idea.
matter. It doesn't matter.
When you see I'm telling you guys, I'm just saying, even though I made it my pick of the week, so I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. So either way, I can tell you guys I told you so. But when you see something like that, Vegas is telling you Utah's going to win that game.
It's true.
You know?
I kind of feel like they will too. Arizona
Really?
State is bound to Arizona State at some point.
That's what I keep thinking.
Yeah.
But outside of BYU, that's the other thing, though, that we do have to talk about. They did go to Provo, and they did get used to the environment, the fields, whatever. Now they're going back to the same venue, basically, just 50 miles north to take on Utah. And so, I don't know. Listen, ASU, now that I keep forgetting the starting tailback for Oregon who got injured. and is
CJ
out.
Verdell.
Yeah.
Verdell.
They'll just
Now
go
that-
more carries for Dye, who's
now,
better anyway.
now that Vardell's out, ASU legitimately probably has the best running back core in the Pac-12 right now.
I thought they did before that, actually.
True. It was debatable at that point, but now I think it's for certain. So what translates on the road is your defense and your running game, and I think both of those things help ASU in a game against Utah.
But the problem is they get in their own way on that running game. They I feel like you know they fell for the hype for Jaden Daniels anyway. Like he deserves a lot of hype, but I feel like sometimes they get out there and they're like, let's sling this thing around with Jaden all game.
You know what's strange about ASU is that, like, if you look at, you're finally seeing kind of the, Herm's recruiting after 3 or 4 years really taking. I mean, you bring in 3 or 4 straight top 25 recruiting classes. I think the problem with ASU though is that they're still. You look at the skill position guys. With the exception of Rashard White, they're still incredibly young across the board. You look at Chip Trainum, sophomore, Daniel Ngata, sophomore. You look at the wide receivers, whether that's LV, Bunkley, Shelton, all those guys. They're all sophomores, essentially. So they're not disciplined and they're young, which is a bad combination when you're going into a place like Utah.
It feels like Utah's always disciplined and old.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's them.
It's because they got those guys coming back from the missions too.
Yeah,
Yep.
not as much as BYU, but it's true.
Yeah.
We can bring it back to this Buffs Arizona matchup, but we're done talking about tomorrow, at least for now.
Oh,
We're talking about the future because we need a little bit of a break from this. And so the question I want to ask you guys, who's is the contender for a Pac-12 title first? Is it Arizona or Colorado?
Arizona will contend for a
Colorado.
Pac-12 title this year in basketball. But football, I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you mean that about basketball?
I'm just being facetious.
Okay, cool.
Well, I
was like, yeah,
actually,
I'd love to hear it.
I do think they will be in the top 4 of the league.
I agree with that.
We got some basketball talk on the way too.
Which naturally
We'll dig
puts
in.
you in position. So
I'm excited to talk basketball. I mean,
It's a nice break.
is neither an option? Like the path for Colorado up until this year, I've been able to like paint that picture, and that's why fans are so despondent right now, right? Because for a while, it felt like Colorado was getting away from this bottom feeder, like national embarrassment that they were for a few years in the early 2010s. And it felt like, okay, slowly but surely, we're climbing one step higher, one step higher, one step higher. They brought in a pretty good recruiting class a couple years ago. And to go this far back right now is really scary, especially because after they lost Mel Tucker, they were so worried about losing a coach again that they built in this insane buyout into Carl Durrell's contract. So Carl Durrell's not getting fired anytime soon.
And who's looking for Carl Durrell?
No one.
Like,
No one was
nobody's
then, and no
coming-
one is now, and
like,
no
nobody's
one
like,
will be
man,
after
if we
this.
could get Carl Durrell, that's the missing piece. I'm going to make the case for Arizona. Now, listen,
Okay.
I don't like the case, but I'm going to make the case. One thing that Jed Fish has done very, very well here is he's been able to sell a vision to recruits. Arizona's got a top 30 recruiting class, and I believe, depending on where you look, it's top 4 in the conference. And they're bringing in, and he's got good kids. You've got the 2 kids from Servite High School, who were on the podcast earlier this week. You've got another kid in Sterling Lane, legitimate 4-star kids that Arizona's been able to get. Now, when you look at the Pac-12 South, Saul and I disagree a little bit on a couple things here. I think ASU is going to have a new coach next year. I don't think Herm survives this. I could be wrong. But no, I get it.
People there are going to defend him hard.
Yeah, college football.
That's the thing.
I get it, but the problem is what
That-
he was doing though during a worldwide pandemic, I think is hard to explain away.
I think that matters more to people outside the program than it does to people inside the program.
why have
And conversely, I think like Sean Miller's thing, I think that meant more to people inside. Well, it meant a lot to people outside the program, but I think people inside the program were like, okay, we have something to be able to use against Miller, and which eventually they did. With Herm, he's such a well-liked guy within the program. He's boys with the AD. Unless you caught Herm murdering somebody in his office red-handed, I just don't see it. I just don't see
so
it.
we agree to disagree on that
Sure.
one. But either way, so let's just say ASU is in maybe a little bit of flux this offseason. I think that's probably fair. UCLA hasn't been what anybody expected under Chip Kelly. I was totally wrong on that. I thought he would have them top 15 by
I
this
think a
point.
lot of people did.
Yeah. USC, I mean, who knows? They haven't had a good coach in who knows how long. So Utah is always going to be solid under Whittingham, but there's always I always feel that there's a ceiling to them and there's a basement.
Absolutely.
They're never going to win less than 6, but they're also probably not going to ever win more than 9. So if you're asking me to make the case for Arizona to come out of the South, there's my case. It's happened once before in the last 10 years. Maybe it happens again.
And I'll say, if I'm making the case for Colorado, I just use history. Like, I just say, like, this is a team who has won the South before. This is a team who at least has some football tradition to fall back on.
Heisman in a national championship.
Heisman in a national championship, one of 25 schools in the country to have that. So, it's something we've been dangling on for
distinction, actually.
It is.
It's
It's something we've been hanging on for 20 years, though, saying, hey, one day we'll get back to this. And unfortunately, they've
possible.
gotten close, once.
That's the thing about the South, though, is like it's so volatile.
Yes.
Like you can be a bottom feeder, and then 2 or 3 years later, you could be top in the Pac-12 South, as opposed to the North, where it's basically always Oregon and Washington.
Right.
It's always those two. Stanford every now and again gets a flash, but
And
it's not really solidified. But in the last decade, in the last 10 years, I think every team in the Pac-12 South has made it to the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
So, if that doesn't tell you what the Pac-12 South is all about,
Right.
that would be the argument for either one of these teams possibly getting to that point again. So don't lose faith.
I guess the other argument for
Back
Colorado
the
is
A.
they could have / should have won it last year.
Yep. I mean, you look at what happened last year.
Can I
They
ask you guys a question about Colorado real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
how much of a downgrade was it from Mel Tucker to Karl Dorrell? And the only reason I ask that is because I watch Mel Tucker, and I'm not saying he's great, but his teams never seem to beat themselves. They always kind of hang in there. What has that transition been like?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, very different approaches. Mm-hmm. I mean, just in terms of the way that they present themselves. Mel Tucker's all about showmanship, and he wants to be interviewed. He told us that the media is the fourth phase of football. It's offense, defense, special teams, and media. He's out there. He's blowing everything up. He's trying to get the 5-star recruits and like make noise wherever he can. And I think that what comes with that is how is he seen 4 or 5 years from now? Do things somehow go wrong behind the scenes in a way that you're like, okay, here's what we're talking about. But that's to be determined. With Karl Dorrell, he's going to provide stability. I think that he is somebody who is very well connected. He's spent a lot of time on a bunch of different NFL staffs. He's going to bring in good assistant coaches. And like you even look at guys like Taylor Embry last year, who John Embry's son. Mm-hmm. So he worked with the tight ends with the Chiefs and with the 49ers. Obviously, Kelsey, Kittle. Yeah, Chris Wilson's a good one. But then Embry comes in as a young guy, coaches the tight ends here for a year, gets a job in the NFL. I think you see some of that sort of stuff. Chris Wilson, a great defensive coordinator who he brings in. He's a defensive line coach for the Eagles. And so you have those connections. On top of that, like he played with Coach Josh McCown. So now Owen McCown is committed last year because Josh was hyping it up. And so I think that that's how you kind of build that. It's a very, I don't want to say like just purely like above board, but
I don't even understand that, though. I don't even understand why. Like, I've been to see you hundreds of times, and every time I leave that place, I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. Like, they have everything they need to win here. Why the hell do coaches just want to leave all the time? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Mel's the first one that's left in a long time.
But because that one, let's stick on that just for a second. That one was the one that surprised me, though, because he left Colorado, and I think this is to Saul's point a little bit, to a Michigan State program that at least at the time was in total disarray. It's not like he's leaving Colorado for Alabama.
Yeah. But they can basically double his salary.
That's what I was going to say.
And on top of that, the funds that you can provide to the rest of everything that's going on. I mean, he wanted to do some other things. He wanted to build a dorm specifically for student athletes, which is against the rules, but you find a way to get around it, whatever. And they were going to be basically a 5-star resort, and they're just like, we can't pay for this. Michigan State will pay for that.
Everything he wanted to do was slightly against the rules, and that's why he was a lot better than Karl Dorrell.
Right there, right?
So, to answer your question directly, I think is a huge downgrade. That showmanship, that hype machine that he was able to create around Colorado football was really powerful, and it was working, and people were showing up, and people were excited for the first time in a while. It may have ended in scandal, and it may end in scandal for Michigan State too, because he wanted to do all the things that you have to do to win in college football. Yep. And all of us sitting here know that not all of that goes in line with the rules. So yeah, he wanted to build that, and he was told that his recruiting budget would triple at Michigan State. His salary was doubled at Michigan State. His assistant pool was doubled. So that's why he left. It's unfortunate because we all knew, like, when you poach a defensive coordinator from the SEC, you're not expecting, like, oh, this guy's going to hunker down in Boulder and stay there forever. What sucked was that you got one season and he was gone before he could really build anything.
And it's really a Pac-12 issue more than anything. It's just that TV revenue. And in 2024, if they get a great new TV deal and they're pulling in another $10, $15 million a year, then I think that's where that could change. But the reason you don't hold down coaches is money.
Yeah.
Karl Dorrell, to me, from an outsider perspective, looks perfectly mediocre.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind the hire. I mean, he's coach of the year last year. And just to get back on topic, what is the path back to, competing for a Pac-12 title? The argument, at least, is you look at what happened last year. They were 4-1 in the regular season. Sure, they missed Washington, Oregon, USC, and Arizona State, which is those are some good teams. But you had some success, and then you say, what if you had a quarterback this year?
Yeah.
And that might be the difference between winning one more game. It could be, you probably maybe pull out that Texas A&M game because you put up points in the last 3 quarters. You just.
I think there is a little bit of a part of me that separates my heart from it and says we're overreacting because of the last 10 years or 15 years. And I think you can make that case. Last year when they were a good football team, feels like 100 years ago to me right now.
I feel like both programs are in a space right now where you can kind of see a path to where they could get better, but you don't trust either the leadership that's in charge of these programs yet because you need to see some more, or you just don't know what type of player they're going to bring in because both of these coaches are still relatively new and trying to get a foothold on what they're trying to do. I don't trust Jed Fish necessarily, but I do trust what he has built from the coaching staff, from the community aspect. People will come back on board if they win because of who they have in the program right now. He's brought back the Gronkowskis. He's brought back the Brewskis. He's brought back the Cecils. Like, people were clamoring for that under Rich Rodriguez and under Sumlin. They didn't get any of it. And if anything, they got alienated. And so now that this guy's embraced the past of Arizona football, or the good parts of Arizona football, I think it's going to be easier to sell it back to the public once you get some dudes in here that can ball for real.
Mm-hmm. The stat that I would give you for Arizona football is, and I'll just ask you guys, how many times do you think Arizona since 1999 has finished the season ranked?
Who? Yeah, I mean, one was right around the guess.
Once.
Has it happened? Okay.
Once. I mean, we're talking almost 25 years of finishing the season ranked once.
Some sad shit.
That's
man.
Amazing.
Some sad shit.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine Colorado without looking is probably 4 times. At least.
I mean, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, that was a good time for them. So they probably got a few in there. And then, of course, in 2016, they went to the Pac-12 championship and, the Alamo Bowl. So that one. Guess how many quarterbacks Colorado has had?
3.
3?
2001, 2002, 2016.
Well, you tripled us up.
In that 25-year period that you mentioned, guess how many quarterbacks Colorado has had drafted in the NFL?
0.
And that's, I mean, isn't that kind of what a lot of it comes down to?
That's really what it comes down to.
You hit on a quarterback,
right,
and he doesn't transfer, then, I mean, that just opens so many doors.
For sure.
That's the craziest part of this whole...
We've only had one.
But he was a Super Bowl MVP.
It's true.
Yes. I mean, one,
That's right.
and
Tom Brady.
by the way, that Super Bowl MVP
Sunshine, baby.
lost to one of the worst CU teams ever in Boulder.
Hey, he's still Super Bowl MVP.
It was all I remember is it was like 50-mile-per-hour winds that day. No one could throw the ball.
was
Nick
there.
Foles, we love you.
I was there. It was not pretty.
All right, it's football season, baby. You know what that means? It means we're going for 2 here with the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped. Blitzing through hairs has never been easier, and it's time you join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code DNVR at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. It's 3 and out the window with all the other trimmers. Now go tame that Wildcat offense. The perfect package 4.0.
Did you write this shit?
Oh, I wish I wrote this. I could never come up with
gosh.
that. The perfect package 4.0 from Manscaped is the perfect package for your package and a key for a great grooming and hygiene routine to make sure the boys downstairs are smooth like Tom Brady in the 4th quarter. The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take your defense to the next level. This 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. There's a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, all sorts of awesome stuff. It's waterproof too. There's no 15-yard penalty for this clipping. The package also comes with a weed whacker. It's an elite nose and ear hair trimmer. It's also waterproof, 9,000 RPMs. 360-degree rotary dual blade system. You get all sorts of liquid formulations with that stuff too. Again, the code is DNVR at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping, anything at that website. So make sure that you jump on there and use that code DNVR at manscaped.com.
Good job, Henry.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Powered
Jeez.
through. Last night on the draft podcast,
that was
down.
a lot. That was a lot.
Just
Powered
gotta
through
keep
it
going.
like the Lawnmower 4.0.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
nothing can power through like that.
No,
I
nothing,
wish.
nothing.
That's the gold
Literally.
standard right there.
Right. Jeez.
All right.
Man.
Let's get into some basketball here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, then.
Yeah. So, first of all, season projection. Just kind of give us the vibe with this basketball team.
I mean, everything's new. It's kind of like the Jed Fish stuff. Everything's
Okay.
new. Different vibe. It's a lot more open to the media,
love
to the
that.
community. I think what I think the athletic department realized during the Rich Rod, Sumlin, and Sean Miller years is that you can't build a successful college community if you shut people out. And that's what I feel like Jedd Fisch and Tommy Lloyd have done with their programs, is they've opened them up a little bit, given a little bit more access to not only the media but to fans. And I think there's a lot of optimism. Now, with that being said, do I think they're going to come out and be, world beaters? No, they're still, weak at a couple positions, and they need some 5-star dudes that can ball. But I think overall as a team, Arizona is always going to be Arizona, and they're always going to be competitive. And I think this team offensively is going to be a far cry from what we've seen in the last decade with Sean Miller.
Really quick, just to add on your point about welcoming in the community, I also think places like Tucson, that's a true, college town. Yeah. That's even more important. Like those people really care about it down there. Yeah. The more that you give them, the more that they'll give you.
I think, I got a lot of thoughts on this because basketball is what drives Tucson.
Yeah.
It's not football, believe it or not. And there are a couple things. First of all, Sean Miller, did some really good things. There's no doubt about it. You had 3 seasons where you finished in the top 5 in the nation, all of this. The problem, though, with Sean Miller and what caught up with him was not necessarily getting popped by the NCAA, in my opinion. It's that he was a jerk needlessly. He was, to me, my favorite player of all time in baseball is Barry Bonds. And for the longest time, I never really got it. Why is the media going after Bonds, but he's not going after Sosa and McGwire? Well, they're going after Bonds because Bonds was a jerk to them.
Yep.
The media is human just like anybody else. So when Sean Miller gets popped, just like Bill Self, just like some other people, these people look at it and they're like, that was the guy he was a total asshole to me.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. So you never want to be mean.
But it's also more than that, though. It's his absolute stubbornness to modify his own system because it started being inefficient. When you have the number 1 overall fucking pick in DeAndre Ayton and you can't design an offense to get him the ball down low in the post, you suck. You suck.
Yeah,
and
flat out. I don't give a shit about your pack line defense if you can't get the number 1 overall pick the damn ball against Buffalo motherfucking Low.
And the thing about it too, he's coming on the heel too. He's coming on the heels too of Lute Olson, who is by any measure the second best Pac-10 basketball coach of all time behind John Wooden. And he's running a thing like what Saul and I were
Tad
watching.
Boyle number 3.
What's that? Tad Boyle number 3, easy. And Kevin O'Neal number 4, most likely.
Oh, shut the hell up.
I'm sorry, KO. That's a shout out for you, buddy.
Oh
By the way, I
gosh.
had KO on the podcast on the live
That
stream.
was a train wreck in itself.
He was doing the live stream as he was driving on the 405.
It's tough.
True. But either way, Tommy Lloyd, though, is refreshing for a couple reasons because I think he's going to have far more of a Lute Olson type style and that he's going to get up and down. He's going to let his guys play. And I think on top of that, just if you're asking me how they're going to do this year, I think by the end of the year, I think they're going to be back in top 25. Okay. I think Ben Matherin's an NBA player. Azuolas Tubelis is going to be 17-10. You've got other guys in Kerr at the point. You've got guys like Pella Larson from Utah. Again, it might be a little bit of a transition, but I think by the end of the year, outside of Oregon and UCLA, which I think are clearly the 2 best teams in the conference, Arizona's right there.
Yeah.
So
how about you guys?
I think standards are probably just a little bit lower. I think probably the goal this year is to make the tournament, and it's probably 50-50 that happens as of right now. So obviously that McKinley right last year, and for 4 years, that was the 4th year there.
Jesus.
Exactly. And when you lose somebody like that who's the face of the program, he's the best defensive player, he's the guy who makes everything on offense click, there's going to be a lot of nerves. And the fact that he was a part of like a 4-man recruiting class that really set the tone for that program for 4 years, and now you've got a lot of those guys gone, it just changes a bunch of things. And so they pull in, I think it's 5 freshmen. It's a number 13 recruiting class in the country. So there's a lot of reason to be excited, but you guys play a lot of freshmen. There've been a lot of freshmen that get a lot of minutes at Arizona. At Colorado, it's been this crew that's kind of grown and grown and grown. Culture's about developing and teaching how to play defense and playing good team basketball and grinding it out.
You guys obviously know a lot more about this than I do, but the one thing that I've always found interesting about Tad Boyle is it always seems like he's got like 2 guys. And whether that's George King, Spencer Dinwiddie, McKinley Wright, Tyler Bay, but it always seems like he's got 2 guys and then a bunch of filler. And that really doesn't. Is that a fair assessment?
I think
there
that's
was a couple
fair.
teams in there that had more
Josh
than
Scott
that.
was another one.
Yeah, there was a team that had, Spencer Dinwiddie and Askia Booker and Josh Scott all together.
Oh, you didn't want to throw Xavier Johnson in there?
No.
I still hate
What about
Xavier Johnson.
Sabatino Chen?
I'm so happy he got dunked on big time by Aaron
Don't
Gordon.
you dare try to.
Chen sanity, baby.
X-Man.
That shot was good. Bar none, 100%.
I
What are you
believe
talking about?
they had
You
to
talking about
come up.
Askia Booker?
No, he's
No,
talking about
Sab.
Sabatino Chen.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's right when Jeremy
It was
Lin
after the buzzer.
No, it was not. It absolutely was not. I was there, by the way, in the McHale Center that night.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it always feels, though, like I said, like he's got a couple dogs and then like a bunch of guys that are just meh.
But then those guys are usually like juniors or seniors. They play really good defense.
Yeah.
They can knock down some threes.
Right.
And so while they don't provide the pop, and that's the difference now, is you now have this number 13 recruiting class in the country. It's like they're going to be making mistakes on defense. Are they going to knock down some deep threes too? Are they just going to make some plays that you're just not used to from freshmen?
Like I told ASU fans when they got all freaking high on the hog last year, they're like, "Oh, we got a top 5 recruiting class. We got Josh Christopher and we got Marcus Bagley." I'm like, "You're still gonna suck."
Well,
Because you have a coach that doesn't know how to coach
He's a
them.
fraud, yeah.
I wouldn't say he's a fraud. When he was at Buffalo, he had more experienced players, so he was able to execute a system better at a higher level. When you have freshmen, there is a lot of coaching and mentoring you have to do to get them to a high level. And the good thing about that Sean Miller era was it always seemed like when there was a freshman that came in, there was another freshman that was an All-American that didn't live up to the hype and couldn't get drafted right off the bat. So they stayed another year to improve their draft stock.
Yep.
And so that helped keep the momentum going to a degree. Once that train left the station, then everything started to fall apart because you didn't have those guys carrying over because they thought they were so good. And that's the other thing is that Todd Boyle's very good. However he does it, he's much better than what we've had at informing kids of their true value at that moment. So they understand if they do stay, they can actually improve their draft stock. And then it usually turns out to fruition. Yep. Whereas with Sean Miller, it was more of like, yeah, I think if you stay, you'll develop. But he never took the time to develop them. Like Raleigh Alkins, he was a tweener between a 2 and a 3. So why not work on his ball handling and shooting to make him more of a guard because he's too small to play small forward. Alonzo Trier should have been a point guard, should have trained him to be a point guard. All he was a scorer, only looked for his shot because Sean Miller couldn't train him to do anything else. Yeah. So it's just like those kind of things that really aggravate.
One thing I'll say about Tad that kind of works in his favor is his system is very simple. It's defend your ass off and rebound the basketball. I mean, that's literally that is the system. They run one play on offense. It's motion.
And that's a concern for this team is you know that the defense is going to be good. Yeah. The defense is going to be very good. Can you score points?
I've always thought from just a pure X's and O's schematic standpoint that Boyle's one of the 3 or 4 best coaches in the conference. Personally, I've always thought that you guys are lucky to have him. Like I said, it's all. I don't think that you're never going to have a vintage Colorado team. I don't know if that exists, and I don't mean that in a negative light. But I think for Colorado, he's pretty good for you. I mean,
absolutely.
Anyone who knows, I guess anyone who understands Colorado basketball on the whole realizes that Tad Boyle is arguably, if not the best coach in Colorado history. Most people love him. He competes for a tournament berth most years. He competes for a top 4 spot in the Pac-12 most years. It hasn't happened a lot, but this team has been respectable year in, year out, every year that he's been.
I think the one thing that's a little bit different maybe than, and because Saul was spot on about the Bobby Hurley with the top 5 recruiting classes, I think the problem, though, that ASU fans have never gotten, and not to turn this into an ASU show.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about ASU.
But Bobby Hurley sucks as a coach.
I agree.
He's an awful coach. He can get guys in, but he just lets them run the ball. If Tad Boyle ever got guys like Josh Christopher and Remy Martin, Alonzo Verge, he would take them to a much higher apex, I think.
Oh, man. It's difficult with freshmen. You just never know. You never know what they're going to buy into, and it's hard when they know they're going to be gone in a year.
Yep. And just to go back to the point you guys are making about the you tell them their value, and then they come back. Jabari Walker, in that 2020 recruiting class, he was the 2nd highest recruit that didn't go declare for the draft last year. And so he's one of those guys who's right on that fringe. He's 6'8". He's bouncy. He
Shoots
shot
the ball.
53% from 3 last year on over a shot and a half
What
per
he hit,
game.
6 in the tournament?
Yeah, he got
in
hot.
tournament
And
games?
so you have him down there in the post. And it's like if he stays out of foul trouble, there's kind of your focal point. You've got Eli Parquet back. You've got Evan Batty back, 2 really good defenders, an all Pac-12 defender, and Evan is a preseason all Pac-12 big guy. And if you have Jabari right there and he can provide something, you just have a few more spots that you got to fill out with this great recruiting class. It's like if they're knocking down threes, if they're just providing something, you see the path. Exactly.
For sure.
And that's what's scary.
That's the
what's
story
scary.
of college basketball, right?
Yep.
Until you do develop these guys. And I will say what Tad has going for him with this high-ranked recruiting class is you don't see the guys who are like, it's not a one and done. Like, it's hard to get the 13th best recruiting class in the nation without getting a couple one and dones. None of these guys are one and done guys.
No,
so that plays into his favor.
Yeah, it's also like, like back in the day with the Lute Olson era, he would find those guys that were like kind of fringe 5-star guys or maybe 4-star guys that wanted to play at a high-level program, but they wouldn't get a lot of run, right? In years 1 and 2, they might play like 5-10 minutes a game at most, right? By the time they were juniors and seniors, they were solid contributors. But in this day and age of the transfer portal, you don't get that anymore. So those guys are like, I'll try it for a year because I want to play at a high-level program. Then when it doesn't fizzle, and when it fizzles out, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Sam Houston State because I can start there. And so both coaches are in difficult positions. And I think it's almost impossible to be a head coach right now in college basketball. But that's why they get paid the big bucks.
I'm looking at your guys' recruiting class right now. This is perfect for you. Lawson Lovering.
Yep.
Great name.
Nasty.
7 foot, 220, number 63. By the time he's a junior, he'll probably flirt with all conference status. KJ Simpson, U of A, was committed to the U of A. I actually thought Tommy Lloyd made a mistake not trying to keep him.
Everyone is obsessed with him.
He'll be very good for
like
you.
not
It's
only just the
incredible.
way he plays basketball, but like he's the greatest human on campus.
It's incredible. I mean, he's come to a couple of our tailgates.
Yeah, he's
You
a
got
cool
3
guy.
top
Really?
100 kids.
Nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no, it's a perfect Tad Boyle class.
Cool.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Okay, before we get out of here, we were going to make a bet on the basketball game, but we're going to talk before then. We'll talk before that basketball game.
For sure.
Let's put something on the line here.
I was saying bet something for this game that gets paid off when we do a basketball show.
Perfect.
Oh, you're trying to lure us back up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Wow.
We could do it virtually.
We don't have anywhere to do a post game tomorrow, so we were just going to come back and do it here because does it really matter if you guys are talking about a win and we're talking about a loss?
No,
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does. I think we can hang out together.
Someone's getting the number 1 overall pick in the Pac-12, right?
In the Pac-12.
So-
Game of the century. What do we put on the line, though?
I don't know.
You guys have
I don't know.
it's tough.
I say just like a shotgun of beer.
Okay.
Next time.
That's classic.
I'm in on that.
Okay. Yeah. While wearing the other team stuff.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be funnier if we picked Arizona and you guys picked Colorado. That's the way this show has been
Do
going.
you guys really think
Yep.
Arizona's going to win?
I don't think they win. I think they cover.
Yeah,
That's what I've decided.
I'm with that. I'm
more confident in the cover than the CU win, though.
I'm so scared of how we're going to score points. But there's part of me that thinks we
You
can
guys
stop
deep
y'all
down
from
think
scoring points.
Arizona's going to win. I sense some hesitancy right
I'm just
there.
so happy we can do that for you.
I sense some hesitancy.
deserve
right
I'm
there.
definitely hesitant. Yeah, I don't have to hide that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm confident either way. I couldn't tell you anything. I
All right.
got
Well,
distracted for a
we'll
second.
stay on our own sides
Okay.
here.
I'll go Colorado 17-10.
Okay. We're still betting a shot. We're
Yeah,
shot
yeah,
getting
for
a beer to the losers.
Yes.
right.
I'm going to take Arizona.
You're back
Score?
in the A.
I'm
I
going to
like
say
it.
I'm going to say 6-3. Arizona.
6-3.
Luke Haversick will finally redeem himself.
We're gonna
How many overtimes?
7.
Oh, okay.
7 overtimes.
6-3 in the
to get to
7th
6-3.
overtime.
Yeah.
They
All
just
right.
keep
Every
figuring
possession
it
will
out.
be a turnover.
They're punting.
they're
in
punting.
overtime.
They're punting on the opponent's 30-yard line.
Oh, David Shaw's not coaching either one of these teams.
Oh, I mean,
What do you
Well,
got? What do you got?
oh yeah. I guess we're putting scores out. I'll say I'm gonna give Colorado a 14-10 win.
We're all kind of in that
All right.
same range right now.
We are.
I mean, I guess I'll just pick with my heart.
Love it.
16-13 Buffs.
So 3 of you are going with the Buffs.
Wow.
My head is telling me otherwise, but
Wow.
I will say this: if Gunnar Cruz throws for over 250 yards, we do win the game.
You know what? No, because I've been saying it all week. They're going to lose. So it's the other way around. 16-13 Arizona.
That's all it took, huh?
All right.
250. You said 250
I do
yards
have the
and my
cover,
heart
though.
stopped.
You do have the cover.
I got the cover. I got Colorado to cover.
Oh, I'm taking the under on the 46.
Absolutely.
A million
Hammer
percent.
the under. Put
Dude,
the
I don't
account
even
on the
understand
Sounds
anything over
dangerous.
40.
I
If
can't
this
imagine
thing
that number.
ends up being 30, if it goes over 46, I'll say this. If it goes over 46, I'm shotgunning a beer tomorrow.
right,
no
sounds
matter
good.
what.
There we
Yes.
go.
There's just
Yes,
no way.
I'll join you.
There's
I'll
just-
join
there
you.
you go. There you go.
That's going to do it for today. We'll be back after the game tomorrow from right here at the DNVR Bar. It's going to be a good time talking about the game of the century. Appreciate you guys for coming on. Appreciate Kale for producing.
Kale,
and we'll
MVP.
see you guys tomorrow.